On a chilly autumn evening, Daniel Carter sat alone at a small roadside tea stall on the edge of the city. At 34, he had learned that loneliness could be louder than traffic. 3 years earlier, he had lost his wife in a tragic car accident, leaving him to raise his little son, Ethan, on his own. Since then, every day had been a battle between paying bills, keeping food on the table, and making sure Ethan never felt the emptiness that haunted their home. Daniel worked long hours as a mechanic, and whenever he had a rare break, he came to the same old tea stall, sipping hot tea while watching strangers hurry past. He never imagined that this ordinary evening would change his life forever. Before we continue, if you love emotional stories filled with unexpected twists, family, hope, and unforgettable endings, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. Daniel took another sip of his tea when he noticed something unusual across the street. A black luxury SUV had stopped beside the sidewalk. 4 little girls, all looking almost identical, quietly climbed out. They couldn't have been older than 6. Wearing matching pink dresses and carrying tiny backpacks, they looked frightened rather than playful. The driver seemed distracted on a phone call and didn't notice as the girls slipped away together. Daniel frowned. Something didn't feel right. The girls crossed the street and walked directly toward his table. Before Daniel could even speak, the smallest one leaned close and whispered, "Mister, please pretend you're our daddy." Daniel almost dropped his teacup. "What?" he asked softly. Another girl quickly added, "Please, just for 5 minutes. Mommy said bad people are following us." Daniel looked around. The girls were trembling. Their eyes weren't playful, they were terrified. His instincts told him this wasn't a childish game. At that exact moment, 2 suspicious men wearing dark jackets appeared at the end of the street, scanning every face. One pointed toward the tea stall. Daniel's heartbeat quickened. Without thinking, he smiled warmly at the girls and said loudly enough for others to hear, "There you are. I've been waiting for you. Come sit with Daddy." The girls instantly hugged him as if they had known him forever. The 2 strangers slowed down, watching carefully. Daniel wrapped an arm around the children while forcing himself to stay calm. Inside, his mind raced. Who were these girls? Why were they running? And why had they chosen him? One of the girls quietly whispered, "Don't look scared. They're watching." Daniel nodded slightly and continued pretending everything was normal. The suspicious men approached the tea stall. "Excuse me," one of them asked. "Have you seen 4 little girls around here?" Daniel smiled casually. "No. I've just been having tea with my daughters." The men exchanged uneasy glances. The girls never looked up. They simply continued pretending to drink juice from empty cups. After several tense seconds, the strangers finally walked away. Daniel exhaled in relief. But the oldest girl looked up with tears in her eyes and whispered words that would completely change his life. "They'll come back, and if Mommy doesn't find us first, they'll take us forever." Far away, inside the tallest skyscraper in the city, powerful CEO Victoria Sterling had just ended the most important board meeting of her career when her phone rang. The color drained from her face. Her quadruplet daughters had disappeared. Within minutes, police sirens echoed across the city. Security teams blocked roads. News channels interrupted their broadcasts. Every officer had the same mission: find the CEO's 4 daughters before it was too late. Meanwhile, Daniel had no idea that the frightened children sitting beside him belonged to one of the richest and most powerful women in the country, or that protecting them would place him directly in the path of dangerous enemies. Daniel's hands trembled slightly as he looked at the 4 little girls huddled around the small metal table. They were trying to act brave, but their frightened eyes revealed the truth. The oldest girl carefully glanced toward the street before whispering, "They're gone, for now." Daniel slowly nodded, though his instincts told him the danger was far from over. "Can someone tell me your names?" he asked gently. The girls exchanged quick looks before answering one by one. I'm Emma. I'm Olivia. I'm Sophia. And I'm Lily. Daniel smiled warmly. Those are beautiful names. For the first time since they had arrived, one of the girls managed a tiny smile. Before Daniel could ask another question, his phone rang. It was his 8-year-old son, Ethan. "Dad, are you coming home soon?" Ethan asked. Daniel looked at the girls and replied softly, "I'll be a little late, buddy. Lock the door like we practiced. Mrs. Jenkins is next door if you need anything. I'll explain everything when I get home." After hanging up, Daniel realized he had just involved himself in something much bigger than he understood. A black sedan rolled slowly past the tea stall. Daniel noticed the driver watching them through dark sunglasses. The vehicle continued. Rain clouds gathered overhead, and within minutes a light drizzle began to fall. The streets emptied as people hurried indoors, giving Daniel fewer places to blend into the crowd. He kept looking over his shoulder, making sure no one was following them. Meanwhile, inside Sterling Global Headquarters, CEO Victoria Sterling refused to sit still. Security footage from every entrance had been reviewed dozens of times. Her chief of security reported, "Ma'am, we found the SUV. The driver was distracted for less than 30 seconds. That's all it took." Victoria clenched her fists. "My daughters are smart. If they're hiding, it's because they know they're in danger. Find them." Across the room, detectives pinned maps and photographs to a large investigation board. News helicopters circled the city while social media exploded with alerts about the missing quadruplets. A multi-million-dollar reward was announced for information leading to their safe return. Back in the city, Daniel led the girls into a small bookstore where they could stay dry for a few minutes. The elderly owner smiled kindly, unaware of the nationwide search. Lily picked up a children's storybook, but before she could open it, Emma suddenly grabbed Daniel's sleeve. "That man," she whispered. Through the bookstore window stood one of the same strangers pretending to read a newspaper. Daniel immediately understood. They had been found again. Without hesitation, Daniel guided the girls through the bookstore's back exit into another narrow lane. Rain poured harder now, soaking everyone within seconds. Sirens echoed in the distance. Daniel didn't know whether they belonged to the police, or someone else. He only knew one thing. He had promised, without saying the words aloud, that he would protect these 4 children. And he had no intention of breaking that promise.